Today, we're going to do something the source material really insists on. We're cutting past the moral arguments for reparations for a moment.
Right, and we're diving strictly into the economic case. The fiscal argument for direct cash payments to foundational Black Americans.
Exactly. The mission here is to analyze the research that frames this as a necessary structural fix for the whole economy. And it starts with a pretty staggering number.
A huge one. Right now, for every $100 in wealth a white household has, a Black household has just $15.
$15.
Yeah.
And the raw dollar gap is what, over $200,000?
It's at $240,100. And the core argument in these sources is that this gap isn't just an inequality, it's a massive inefficiency holding back the entire U.S. economy.
So this is where the analysis really flips the script, right?
Right.
It argues the cost of doing nothing is a price we're already paying.
We are. It's an indirect and, frankly, a highly inefficient payment, a constant fiscal drag.
How certain are the models on the scale of that drag?
They're extremely certain. The cumulative loss in economic output just since 1990. The estimate is $51 trillion.
$51 trillion.
And looking forward, just for this decade, the projection is another $1 to $1.5 trillion lost in consumption and investment.
Which translates to a permanent hit to GDP, doesn't
A
it?
continuous penalty, yeah. About 4 to 6% of GDP. Just gone year after year.
And that's the macro cost. Does it also show up as, specific line items, things taxpayers are funding right now?
Oh, absolutely. When you have systemic disadvantage, you get poor health outcomes. That's a public cost.
Of course.
Racial and ethnic health disparities alone cost the nation $451 billion in 2018.
Wow.
And that's driven mostly by premature mortality. Then you have something like mass incarceration, which disproportionately hits Black families. The children of incarcerated parents lose a combined $215 billion in lifetime earnings every year. It's a huge fiscal drain.
So when you add all that up, the lost output, the GDP drag, the social costs, it really raises the question.
Is the status quo fiscally irrational?
Yes. Especially when the cost of inaction seems to be so much higher than the, 10 to 12 trillion estimated for a comprehensive solution.
Exactly. We're choosing the more expensive path.
Let's shift to the cause of the injury then. The sources point to specific policy. The 1944 GI Bill is used as a prime example. Can you just walk us through that?
It's a perfect case study. The GI Bill was supposed to build the American middle class, subsidized housing, education.
A great idea on paper.
But because of local discrimination, redlining, it wasn't applied fairly, not even close.
And what was the result?
Researchers found that the families of white veterans accrued on average 32 times the wealth of the families of Black veterans.
32 times from one single policy.
And just think about how that one difference compounds over 3 generations.
It's enormous. So that brings us to the proposed solution. Why do the economic models say direct cash payments are the most efficient fix?
It really comes down to speed and impact. Direct cash gives you an immediate fiscal stimulus because of something called the high marginal propensity to consume.
And for our listeners, that just means people with less money tend to spend new money right away on things they need.
Exactly. But there's another piece. A lot of that money first goes to debt reduction. And that creates what the research calls a financialization multiplier.
Okay, what does that do?
By paying off high interest debt, you stabilize the family's finances, you improve their credit, you give them access to capital on fair terms, they can now start a business or buy a home without predatory rates. It's a self-correcting mechanism.
So that's the move from cost-cutting to investment return. What's the projected ROI for the whole country?
This is the permanent national dividend we talked about. Closing the racial wealth gap is projected to increase U.S. GDP by 4 to 6%.
Annually.
And on top of that, closing the gap in Black-owned businesses could have generated $13 trillion in revenue and over 6 million jobs a year for the last 2 decades.
It's engine ready to be turned on. And the sources say the 10 to 12 trillion cost is actually feasible to finance.
Very. Through things like a tax on corporate equities, where the top 20% own almost all the assets, or through long-term government bonds that get paid back by that future GDP growth we just mentioned.
So the models treat this as structural cost reduction, an efficient capital injection, not just redistribution.
The sources insist on that framing. It's debt repayment for specific policy exclusion. That's the argument.
So the final thought we'll leave you with is this. The economic case suggests that every year of political delay just makes the price tag bigger and compounds the lost GDP. You're already paying the indirect, inefficient cost of inaction. The real question is, what is the true national price of delay?